This is the Cardinal Cowboy Show.
Giddy up! Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live in the Cardinal Cowboys studio. How's everybody doing this evening? Who's ready for some football? I think it's time to start talking football. Baseball's over, hockey's over. It is football season back in St. Louis. A lot of people may be wondering what I'm talking about. And I have to make this very clear. The St. Louis Bandits are in town, ladies and gentlemen. New team, head coach Jeff Hunt on the far end over there. Star running back Kendall Morris. Played with the Chiefs. Played here at Francis Howell Central.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, tell us what we're excited to partake of here coming up. Tryouts coming up, a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, we got tryouts coming up this Saturday, November 14th. We're going to actually be, registration is at 5 p.m. We're looking to start the event around 6 to 8. Got a lot of players coming out. I got a couple players that's going to be coming out. We got Drew Harris, he's going to come out. He's going to actually be financially get on the roster. But we got Brian Mullen. He's from Atlanta. He's 2 years indoor. Also was at Fort Valley State University. About 6'4", 6'5", about 375 pounds. He's a nose guard. He can move. He got a lot of experience. I'm excited to have him. Again, we got Keenan Mace that's going to come out and help out. He's already on the roster, of course. That's Kendall as well. Got other few players. Frank, that's actually was his quarterback in town. He's going to come out and get a chance to talk to him and see about getting him on the roster. But I'm actually looking for players that actually come out, compete, and try to gain an actual training camp spot.
All right, Coach. In-house, then you also brought with one of your star players here recently signed with the team, Kendall Morris. Kendall, tell us how excited you are.
Well, first of all, Cowboy, thank you for having us on. This is definitely
Absolutely.
dope. This is definitely a dope experience just this far. I love the setup. I love everything about it. But when Coach reached out to me, Coach Hunt, he told me about the opportunity. He knew about my history. He knew a little bit about my credentials. I was surprised, even to this day, it's always an honor to hear your name mentioned, with people who are reputable in the sport, reputable within the business of football. My love for the game itself is unparalleled to people I know personally. And just me being young and me being in shape, going from team to team. And it's a very nomadic experience, and you always want to find a place to call home. And him giving me this opportunity to be able to, weave my way back into the professional environment, as professional as we're doing now. It's a great feeling, man. It's a wonderful feeling, and I love to get the idea of being able to have teammates build continuity, study the game, study film, the teams will be playing, and giving myself opportunities to win the game. That in itself is a blessing. So I'm thankful for the opportunity. I love the opportunity, and you got to be able to love the game and play to be able to play the game for sure.
Well, I tell you, it does get exciting. When you've got the kind of talent we're talking about here. Mm-hmm. Some people are probably familiar. You went to Francis Howell Central, standout player there, obviously.
Yeah.
Then tell everybody where you played college ball, because that was might be a little bit of a surprise to some of our listeners.
Yeah. Before that, I was at CBC.
Right.
I was at CBC High School those first 2.5 years. Then I went to public school. I went to Francis Howell Central. I went to the Sager Middle School. That was adjacent to the high school at that time. But ended up going private school, back to public school. Showed out my senior year. Showed out in track and field as well. Had offers to run. All the kids that's out there listening right now, this is, strictly for you. I know your parents get on you. I know they say this and that, but be very attentive in school. Be very attentive in school, because school and grades held me back from going somewhere like the University of Illinois, San Diego State, University of Iowa, wherever, some of the 6, 7, John Davis Sellers, all those guys, they're all great. But I started at Austin Peay. I sat out my redshirt freshman year. Came in that next year. I was an OVC newcomer first team all conference. I showed out there for a year. We had another change. And then after that, went to the University of Kansas. Went under Dave, big, heavy guys out there. I love them to death. I love all those guys to death. So coming from KU, at first I was going to start working. I was a computer science major, graduated, cool. They asked me to do my pro day. I said, absolutely. Went to the Kansas City local day after that, went to the preseason with them, went to the Baltimore Ravens, a bunch of other teams that I'm not going to name, but I'll say it again, nomadic. You're moving from city to city. You got to be able to perform when they say that it's time to come out. And ended up going to TD Ameritrade, and like I said, had another opportunity with the Kansas City Chiefs from there on, and then Coach reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to play again, and I'm like, absolutely, I'm always ready. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to have you.
That's the Cliff Notes version.
Well, that's exciting. And like I said, I just had noticed Austin Peay, and it seems like there's a lot of players that come through schools that may not be the top 10 schools in the country, and they beat out all these guys who played in the top schools. And I'm wondering, what's the oversight? How do they miss some of these athletes that are obviously better than some of the guys that they're picking up to play Division I, Big 10, top 10, top 25, and they make it the bigs, and you see they're going to come out of nowhere. It seems like. Tell me about that. That's what happened here. It looks like.
There's perspective, and I think Coach could definitely attest to this. But it's really about your journey. Everybody got a different journey.
Right.
You see LeGarrette Blount go to a nowhere Mississippi State, on a middle of nowhere community college. You never heard of it before. That Netflix show that they got, Last Chance U.
Right.
You never heard of the school, and they go to schools like that. They may show up at Miami for 1 year and then go to the league the next.
State,
Exactly. So everybody got their own journey. For me, I was definitely a standout. The only person I saw that was better than me in 2014 at running back was Leonard Fournette. That was the only person that I saw, watching on film. I'm like, this dude is legit better than me at the game of football, and I can't really say anybody else's name without a grain of salt behind that. And he's in the NFL as we speak. And he's been in the NFL and playing at a high level at LSU. You know that story. So everybody has their own journey. Not everybody can get picked up to go play at Ohio State. They only got one starting running back. They only got one starting quarterback. Those schools got the quarterback, the running back, the so-and-so. So, everybody has their own journey. You got to get in where you fit in and find a way to make it work. If it's coming up through special teams like Antonio Brown or whoever or wherever, however you make it, even Kurt Warner, you all know his story if you're from St. Louis. So, yeah, everybody has their own journey, and however you make it is your own journey and your own story to tell.
Well, it's an exciting story that I appreciate, being somebody who was not highly recruited myself, but came through and had won the same award as some other guys who did make it.
Right.
And I can tell my story more later. Most people are familiar by now. But a lot of guys do seem at times they are overlooked. And then it's just amazing. As good as these scouts are supposed to, Coach, you've been a scout. What in the speed? Was it just a matter of he went to a smaller school? What was the real issue there? And now, going all the way up to the Chiefs, pretty exciting.
Well, the thing, and I see what Kendall was saying is perfectly right. I mean, you got guys that might come from a small school. Doesn't matter if it's high school, going into college. College can be small. Guys just go in, they perform. And when the scouts miss that, it's almost like, how did we miss this? You might get a guy that goes to Ohio State or to Florida State schools and not be as great as a player that played. I can tell you right now, Roosevelt Ross, who was a dear friend of mine, running back, and he lives in the Miami area. He went to college where a couple of the Patriots players that went to, and Tyreek Hill also went to Alabama. You know what I'm saying? So those guys, they're like the underdog, I would say. But we, like I said, the players that I'm bringing in now, and like I said, when I signed Kendall and a lot of other players, I have about 12 to 15 guys that was in the National Football League, actually played AFL. These guys that played at Division I schools, even the Division II. My message that I'm sending out, throughout the players that's coming to this tryout, come in and compete. And I don't get too caught up in where you played it. I get caught up, what I look for is players that can play, that I want to put on the field.
Yes,
that's what I look for, guys that have great work ethic, not guys that just don't believe in training. Because as Kendall would say, sitting right here, to get to the highest level, you have to train, you have to eat right, you have to take care of your body, you have to have a football IQ to know the game, you got to be able to study, you got to be able to watch the film. These are things that you have to play on the next level. And if you don't have that, then you just have dreams. I'm looking for guys that don't have dreams. I'm looking for guys that come in that want to play, that want to
understand regiments, the importance of taking care of your body. That's such a big thing. And I think I overlooked that in my mind just because getting caught up in the journey aspect.
But
man, there's so many people, just like what you said, that's walking the streets right now that's 10 times more talented than people playing any professional sport, but they don't have the work ethic, they don't have, the nuances, and they don't build the character to compete at that level. It's not sustainable to them. And in your mind, whatever it is to you, whatever is important to you, you'll make that matter.
You'll make that matter.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And to touch real quick, Cowboy, and the reason why I'm like this is because of, when I was in San Antonio, I used to talk to a bunch of scouts who come to our game, and the first thing they would tell us, they would ask us, how these players work ethic. Do they train? Do they eat right? What's their schedule like? Things like they want to know. These are questions they're asking. They don't want some guy just coming in, don't train. They don't take the football seriously, and they just want to come in and just, be on the team. It's not about just being on the team. You have to have some great work ethics behind it. You got to have, like Kendall just said, you got to be able to eat. You got to have a journey. You got to have your goals set. And this is serious. This is serious. Guys are out trying to take jobs, because they have to take care of their families. So this is a business, and a lot of guys don't look at it like that.
Yeah. Well, guys, tell me a little bit about what you have going with regard to the path that some of these guys, and I'd like to focus on Ken a little bit. Tell us about the path. So you come out of, where did you get drafted? Excitement with them, and how that all worked out for you as a player, and to help some of these guys understand what they have to go through and that path to get to the league.
I'll take it a couple years back before that even. When I was at Austin P, we had a coaching change, and shout out to Will Healy, his whole staff that he brought in. He was an amazing guy.
Oh, wow.
Should have been champions, and rightfully so, in my mind, always will be champions. You ask anybody in Clarksville, they bred champions. They really did. My journey there for me had ended, so I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like this is where I was supposed to be in the first place. And I took my chances to walk on at the University of Kansas.
Right.
And one of the biggest things I learned there was, my nutrition, my regimen, and being able to take care of my body and add nuances to places where I wasn't comfortable in the game. I just talked about like how I learned how to really throw the ball. I really learned how to run routes. I really learned the techniques of pass blocking from my O-line coach and O-line players, where they were strength and conditioning staff, because they knew exactly how to do those things. The muscles that you have to train to be able to exert the most force, and even your technique and your stance and things like that. So how that translated on the field for me with them, is always going to be special teams. Now, be starting running back. I'm the second or third fastest person on the team. I still got the screenshots of it. I don't care what nobody say. I know I was one of the strongest and most well-rounded athletes on that team, and it didn't result in playing time for me. So I had to find ways to be able to make that up. And, whatever scouts saw at my pro day, you never know what your moment's going to look like. You never know what your opportunity's going to be looking like. One thing I learned about my personal life, you listen when nobody's listening, or when they perceive that nobody's listening, and you watch when you think nobody's watching, and that could be your moment. When you think nobody's watching you do what you do, that could be it. And going to Kansas City, I remember getting my call. I was leaving work. I was actually leaving the gym. I was at Quick Trip, and they called me after the preseason. This was going into when they played Tennessee, and I won't say names because, like I said, but he was the college coordinator for him at that time, and he asked me, are you in shape? Are you healthy? All the et ceteras. I came there the very next day, and then the day after that, got an itinerary, and then I was in Tennessee, We were playing Tennessee, and then I waited 2 days before media day to find out if I was going to be in the Super Bowl. And for me, just to hear them words coming out of my mouth, and it's a dream. Yeah, it's a dream come true to be able to have the opportunity to say, we want you to be a person who possibly plays in the Super Bowl. To hear those words and your name behind it, you train every day, your mind, your body, your soul, and make sure all those pieces are in tune, and that's in it, because at the end of the day, you don't know when you're going to get that opportunity. It may come today, it may come tomorrow, but if it's not for you, it may not come. But be able to prepare yourself for that, because you want to be in the best position to be able to take that opportunity. And that's a bit of the journey aspect of it. And not everything played out the way I wanted it to. If it was up to me, I would have had 3 Super Bowls by now. I would have had, such and such. I would be in Canton as we speak. Youngest inductee of Canton. But that's
pretty awesome.
Yeah, but that's not how it plays out. You're gonna hit a lot of things along the road, man. So you got to be willing to roll with those punches and learn how to grow and bounce back and be stronger from those things. Absolutely.
Well, you make a lot of good points that I'm keen on, and that is the truth, that there are a lot of guys who apparently on that edge, right? They've got the ability.
And I went to my running back coach, and Coach Hall, Tony Hall, he's from Louisiana. He's from New Orleans. I'll be specific. He wants to.